It is 11 o'clock a.m. December 16th. We'll begin this regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. If I could ask everyone to please turn off their cell phones, then we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a approval of the agenda motion on the table?
With the,
Yeah,
Oh, with the, I don't have it highlighted on this one.
it's in the one on Teams, it just should say, here,
Oh, I got it, I can pull it up.
it is number 4, and it should just say approval instead of discussion and consideration.
Okay, so,
I move to approve the agenda with the change that under the consent agenda, item number 4 is changed from discussion and consideration to approval for the PSA.
I will second the motion.
to vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright, agenda approved with that condition. Community information items. First, we are wrapping up the budget season. It's pretty much wrapped at this point. Just wanna express my gratitude for all the incredibly challenging tasks that were accomplished by the Lake County government staff. How much hard work went into that, and acknowledge the changes that have happened with approval and with becoming more aware and looking ahead into the future, trying to enact more thoughtful sustainability for Lake County. There was a handful of pretty contentious changes community-wide, and there was a little bit of perhaps misunderstandings about the reasonings behind some things. I had a few emails about the mill levies, and so for the public, online and in the room, and anyone who's watching this later, I just wanted to get real clear about the situation with the mill levies and why we did not wanna raise those, or why we decided not to. The amount of streamlining, operational efficiency, and being more, the ability to be more responsible with taxpayer dollars, the areas we're identifying how to improve as a county with that are many, and the staff and the BOCC have worked really hard identifying that, and we're making a ton of progress. I'm beyond grateful to have the team in here that we have, making these recommendations, finding these places. It did not seem prudent to raise taxes in a blanket manner across the entire community while we're still finding places to be better in our own house. Especially since that would affect many people who are already stretched really thin. We have gone a little bit in depth on this subject in a different meeting, but seeing as how this is the regular meeting that maybe more people will pay attention to, I wanted to reiterate these points. So, I also came across some misconceptions that Lake County, without raising the mill levies, will be cutting services to essential programs and safety net programs, and that's just simply not the case. We are not cutting services. We are looking at how to maintain our current level of operations, and then when it comes to enhancing services, we are going to look for new and creative sources of funding outside of raising taxes on everyone in the community. So I just wanted to really make sure that was crystal clear, and that The leadership team and the BOCC and the staff here are all working really hard to make those things happen without putting the burden on every single person in this community. That's it for me.
I don't have anything today, thank you.
I attended the Colorado Department of Human Services meeting last week with CCI and heard from some of the directors at CDHS about their proposed regional structure. And over 100 people were on there, mostly commissioners, or many commissioners, but my takeaways were some concerns about these models. And my main concern is that we don't actually know the county impact to this proposed change. That we don't know the fiscal impact, because currently we receive money from the state to operate some of these programs. And if they are looking to regionalize that, the state has actually not made a decision as to how they can fund that, because they don't have money to do it. And they have not looked at the impact on county budgets. So just from conversations and extrapolating, many commissioners believe there is no other way for the state to actually fund these things than to take some of those allocations from counties to put it into these regional districts. So the state was asked to actually do some of that work, because it's not the approach that they've taken is to see the fiscal impact on counties. It's only to see the fiscal impact on the state. And I guess when House Bill 1 came out, my immediate gut reaction was anticipating that counties would be the ones receiving the penalty for our error rates. That the state is gonna get penalized, and then they would pass those penalties on to the counties. But the approach from the state seems to be just the state only looking at the state penalties. And therefore they're regionalizing as a defense mechanism, where I feel like if we're actually going to collaborate, we need to actually talk as counties as to how we can be more effective in our error rates, and the push-pull collaboration of counties and state. So I think that was another takeaway from that conversation, is that it seemed to me to be very state focused as opposed to all of us in it together. I'm curious to see how the conversations will go, but today is the Joint Budget Committee hearings. It's all day. Currently, as we speak, they're having them about some of these proposed changes. So, yeah, I think the state knows that they're moving faster than ever they would. And I am honestly concerned that we're trying to avoid all of these penalties, but in the process of trying to push through a program really quickly, we'll actually end up having a higher error rate and we'll suffer more. So I'm a little bit concerned about the motivations and how quickly things are moving, and what collaboration actually looks like between the state and the counties. But everybody in those rooms has the best intentions and they want to serve the public, but especially for a small rural DHS like ours, where everybody is cross-trained, where there's not a person you can remove from our DHS and put them into a regional place. I'm nervous and curious about how this will impact us financially and the services we provide starting next year.
You're not alone. It seems like a really fast, messy thing so far, and I don't understand how they're gonna implement it. I don't think any of this.
I mean, the proposal is that there will be, right now, they've got a map of what the regions will be, and it's a draft map. And our region includes Eagle, Summit, Chaffey, and Gunnison. And that within that region, each of those counties would kind of compete for an RFP process that would be determined within all the counties as to who would be the hub.
Yeah.
So it's also kind of like the state saying, it feels a little bit like the state putting it back onto the counties to solve it without the resources to do it, more like dictating the structure of how it has to be. And so they have a proposal for what it would look like. And like Candace has said, it would be great if we were in a position to be actually able to compete for that, if that's the direction that we go in. But
Geographically.
yeah, but ultimately it will impact services.
Yeah.
To change the model midstream.
Yeah.
So nothing is decided, just to be really clear, but the conversations are being had, you know, we're 5 months after the bill was passed. And they are proposing to change it by the state's next fiscal year. So July 1. In 6 months.
Alright. Moving on. Meeting recordings are available. A reminder, all regular meetings and work sessions are recorded and available on Lake County Government YouTube channel with transcribed, indexed videos. The recordings can be watched at the time that's best for you. Subscribe to stay informed on county decisions. Public comment is available to residents wishing to speak on an agenda item or on another issue not on the agenda. To make public comment, residents may request to speak by raising your hand in person, using the raise hand feature in Zoom, or sending a message in the chat. Chair will call on the public in order. Comment is limited to 3 minutes, not including board questions. Action, if required, will be assigned to county staff. The chair may also ask that public comment on specific agenda items be held for later in the meeting. In certain instances, public comment will not be accepted, such as on public hearing items noted on the agenda. Does anyone in the room have public comment for today's regular meeting? Seeing none, I will move online. Does anyone online have any public comment for today's regular meeting? Seeing none, nothing in the chat. Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 1, overview and options for potential adjustments to the Intergovernmental Agreement with Summit Stage for transportation to and from Summit County. This will be led by Stuart Clark, Operations Specialist.
Yeah, it's this one.
Okay, well, thanks for this opportunity to talk about this. This is an expensive piece for the county. Summit Stage has been really good to Lake County as far as providing this service and doing it at a very fair rate.
Yeah.
I've verified that they've taken measures to charge us really low rates for all the services they provide. And also, Summit County, or Summit Stage, they're receiving a grant to help pay for a portion of this now. And we also have applied for an additional grant, the SB 230, which is the oil and gas tax, to try to help with this piece. And we're still in that process, working with the grant manager with the state. We don't have any numbers or outcome, or even if we can get any money. So I just want everyone to be aware of that. And we pay roughly, it's a little bit different each month, but roughly $260,000 a year. This is what, our portion that we pay to Summit Stage to help, Lake County residents get over into Summit County and back. And there's a mix of riders, just, I'm sure you all know, there's some recreational people, and there's also people that use this to go to work and back each day, whether that's housekeeping or whatever it is, because there's some odd hours where people ride the bus. And we're gonna hear from Craig Lubers, the representative, the transit manager for Summit Stage here in just a few minutes. He'll have some good perspective about this. But this option A, this is some cuts that were recommended by Summit Stage. But I want to preface that with saying that they would like no cuts, because each cut involves somebody not being able to get to work or to go ski or something. So option A has got 2 different routes. Remember, there's from Frisco or Summit County to Leadville and back. So each cut would be a round trip type thing. So if we cut the service in the middle of the day between 1 o'clock, leaving Frisco to Leadville, and then back from Leadville, that would be the 1 to 2, and then also the 8 to 9, we could save roughly $118,000 a year out of that 260. And option B is just the 1 to 2 cut, $59,000 a year. And then option C would be $59,000 a year at the later. Now, I just want to reiterate, these are just people it's people we're talking about, even though we're talking about the numbers. So I know that the board cares about each one of these riders, and we don't have to make any changes. These are just some options that we can think about. Do you have any questions so far? No. We probably should bring Chris on and we can get his perspective of this. Hi, Chris.
Thanks, Steve. It's been great to work with you thus far. I appreciate you.
Hey, Chris, hang tight 1 second.
You're just really quiet.
Yeah, you're really quiet. Do you have a mic volume you can adjust, or is our volume?
Where's our remote control?
It's right in front of you.
You wanna turn that up, maybe?
It was quiet off the owl, that's the TV.
Yeah, but it might be,
And can you do the sound bar at the bottom there? So you get to the right, the little sound. Well, that won't help.
Oh my god.
Cancel.
oh no.
Somebody take this from me. Hold on.
Did you turn it off and back on?
Did you touch this?
I
Wait,
think
is
you
this where you touched?
Yeah,
You plug it in.
I tried to turn the
Okay,
volume
hold
up.
everybody into.
Oh, he changed the, oh, he
What?
watched Baywatch.
I just said back.
Input,
Input.
good input.
No, there's no input there. There's no input. Wait, hold please. I'm clicking hold.
We're having
There you
some
go.
technical difficulties right now, if you can just please bear with us for
There.
1 second, I apologize.
No,
No.
go back up. It should be on this thing, but like further back that way maybe? Yeah, there we go.
Cancel.
Oh boy.
Unable to connect to the network? That's not good.
No. Do you go to the house?
This is the house.
Yeah.
We are at home.
Well.
Can't hear, maybe you want,
Huh?
here. There you go,
There we
proceed.
go.
Hi.
Oh, you guys are still
There we
there,
go.
oh, thank God,
Sorry.
okay.
Alright.
I tried to turn up the volume on our end and
Which one
basically
did
just
you push?
blew up our whole meeting.
He did the chant?
Oh,
I was thinking the
Don't-
volume bar was the side to side,
I just did the same thing.
uh-oh.
Oh Lord. Cancel.
Thank you, Chris, for joining us.
Yeah. Okay, well, now we know where the volume button is.
Okay. Hey, Chris.
Oh, there we go, okay.
Hey, is that any better? I'll try to get as close as I can to my microphone here.
Okay.
That's better.
Sandra, do you mind checking on the,
Oh, there you go.
Seems to be.
okay.
Okay.
Alright, Chris, go for it.
Okay, Chris, apologies.
No apologies necessary. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with Stuart, and we want to help you guys out any way we can. And when I say you guys, we mean, the riders that depend on this shuttle. And if we can avoid forcing anyone to buy a car they can't afford, we'd love to do that as well. Hourly rate for 2026, I went ahead and just without approval, just looked at what it could be, added 2% just because that's roughly what inflation is right now. That leaves you at $88.55 an hour, which is far from a fully loaded rate, as mentioned by Stuart. We don't recoup all of our expenses. There is a grant suggested by CDOT, hasn't been awarded yet, and it is for you. It's for Lake County. They do put it into Summit County's account, but it's truly a Lake County grant. Looks like that amount is $144,722. So that takes a bite out of the expenses that are in the neighborhood of $400,000. So it's nice to have that grant. Stuart's pursuing another potential funding source as well. Let's hope that comes to fruition. Yeah, the cutting service. I asked the team here at Summit Stage to look at what they would do if they had to try to save as much money as possible, and they came up with a few options. Again, our option A really is no cuts, but then, we certainly have a couple trips that are a bit close to each other. There's a couple 1 o'clock trips. That was our first go-to, is that 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock trip. Lot of riders there, however, some redundancy in trips, but a whole bunch of riders in that 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock hours. So we hate to mess with it, but that's probably where we'd go first, just because there is some redundancy in trips. Second to that, we'd go out into the kind of the evening and look at adjusting some trips and potentially eliminating them. So that was our thought process. Again, just leave it open to you and what you guys are thinking.
I don't have anything in my packet that's showing me the rider numbers for all of our six trips down, 6 trips back per day. So I'm just curious, so who's riding the bus from Leadville to Frisco at 5:20 in the morning? And do we have any way to get a estimate on those numbers
If you look at the one that I have pulled up on the screen, it's the very last
in the packet?
doc in the packet. It's the one that Stuart put in there. If you look at the different options, I think it has riders listed.
The option A, option B, option C.
Yeah. it should
Those have the rider numbers. I'm looking at the whole
Trying
schedule
to see the whole thing.
itself, and I'm
Gotcha.
wondering which, something that's got, I know 5.3 riders per day doesn't sound like a ton of people, but that's gonna affect people's jobs and, people needing to get down or back
Did you
for
all,
things.
did you all decide to give us the options that you did based on ridership numbers? Like, are
Yeah.
these the lowest?
So I just.
Might take a peek where those trips are listed in kind of the blue and green trips, the header across the top. We went ahead and pulled an hourly ridership number for you there, so you can see kind of the hour and then the ridership number below that. We wanted to be current, so at the time we pulled it all the way to October. Obviously, we're in December now, so it would be a slightly larger number, but that kind of that 5 o'clock hour, pretty close to annual ridership number would be 2,000. You might be seeing that in the just above the trips there, kind of in a header format.
Is that per year then? Is that,
It's January to
Mm-hmm.
That's
October.
an annual
Yes,
number.
that would be an annual ridership number. Again, we only pulled it through October, so it's a partial
gotcha,
annual ridership number, but we wanted to be in 2025 instead of 24, so we went ahead and pulled that
gotcha.
for you.
Oh,
So
thank
it's
you.
it's pretty close to an annual number, and that really tells the story much more than the
Does.
riders per day. That
Okay.
kind of like if you look at 1 o'clock p.m., the 1300 1
Yeah.
o'clock p.m. hour, that's a
Gee.
pretty good sized number right there annually, and again, it's only through October. So, um,
Wait, Chris, though, there are two buses at 1 o'clock, so isn't that actually counting both buses?
yes, ma'am, it is. It's counting both buses. So,
So wouldn't the 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock actually be the lower ridership? Because there are 1,400 people at the 2 o'clock.
mhm. Yes, that 12 o'clock is a lower ridership number. And what we were thinking is if we get rid of the 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock trips, folks would kind of move to the later time. It'd be a little easier for folks to wait longer and move to a later bus, etc. Um,
To come to
as
Frisco.
so that 4 o'clock route. It is certainly possible, though, that you would look at that 12 o'clock trip and say, that's a lower ridership number. Let's cut that. It would that would not be illogical to do.
Thank you.
But I think one of the points that it's important to think about is
Yeah.
there's a number like $59,000 to cut one route.
Right.
Mhm.
And anyway, and also when I was looking at these numbers, when I was extrapolating that, you
Yeah.
know, it may be a lot higher during the weekday and less on the weekends, which doesn't tell the whole story for us. We don't have those numbers, so.
Yeah, those numbers, we sent you a report. It was really clunky. It was a clunky report with a lot of numbers on it, but it gave an idea weekdays versus weekends. It was kind of a by day report. You'd almost need a data geek to look at it for you, but in our opinion, there is certainly some difference between weekdays and weekends. However, not enough in our humble opinion, not enough to look at cutting weekends. It looked pretty static across the board, and a lot of folks work on weekends, of course. So um, we looked at that and thought, yeah, it's just not quite enough for us to look at doing like a 5 day route instead of a 7 day route. So it was just, what we thought. But please, have a data person look at that or ask us to pull even more data to make that determination yourselves.
And Chris, there's one more piece of information that might be valuable for the board, and that is changes can only be made during like a union time when that can be made, right?
That is correct, Stuart. Being a union environment, we do what's called bidding. So we build a schedule, a proposed schedule. The union looks at it, approves it, and then they take turns based on their seniority bidding on it. Once you go through that process, yes, you could make a change. However, one small change could cause a cascading effect of basically rebuilding the entire schedule and rebidding again. So we try to avoid changes once we've pushed the schedule out. So the next one will be for this spring, of course, and that would be our next opportunity to make changes.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Just flagging for the board for the packet, I did pull that daily report and just plug that into your packet, just so you can see it.
Okay.
We left it out because as Chris mentioned, it is pretty data heavy, and we just went through the analysis and then presented the options for ridership, but if you'd like to dig into it a little more, I just added that.
Thank you.
The in option A, I've got an 8 p.m. Frisco to Leadville. That's referencing that one. I'm looking at the schedule right now is the 8:30 Frisco to Leadville. It's got I don't really see. Okay. And that's got a 6 and a 10 sandwiched on either side of it. I just wonder how many people are gonna be able to adjust their schedules to fit. If we go from 6 buses each way per day down to 4 buses each way per day, how many folks will be able to adjust their schedules to work around that? It's not ideal, but
It's not ideal, but it would certainly be doable. In our opinion, folks would adjust, and we would lose a good portion of that ridership. Again, folks would drive, find ways to drive, potentially, hopefully, find ways to carpool, but either way, they would find ways to drive. Um, the later in the evening you get, like for instance, that 10:30 p.m. trip, that's where you get some really dependent ridership, although smaller, very dependent. So we tended to leave that one alone for now, but again, this is our first blush.
Yeah,
right, and I guess the same would be said for, if there was someone coming up here for an event or for a restaurant or something from Summit, that taking out that 9:30 Leadville to Frisco under option A listed as 9 p.m., that would be problematic.
It certainly could be, and although we would want a lot of customers, visitors, etc. riding, I think, and we're probably due for a survey to confirm who's riding, but I think we are mostly workforce on this entire
Workforce.
route, all these trips.
And that does have the lowest numbers listed in the options. That's 0.8 riders per day.
But that's the bus that brings people back after their restaurant shift.
Yeah, it's the last.
So we're building right now the schedule that'll start this spring. We call it the summer schedule. No hard deadlines in any of this, but if there was a deadline, it'd probably be about mid to late January where we'd want to know kind of what we were adjusting, what we were cutting.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good to know, Chris. Seems like there's 2 shifts over there, right? The day shift and then the restaurant, the 4 to 10 and the 7 to 4 shifts.
Yeah, that's true. With all of our routes, local, etc., we end up with almost kind of a day-night mentality. We get a lot of folks coming in at the 5-6 o'clock hour for their evening routes. So there is kind of a daytime, nighttime, but it merges pretty good too. So it's not a strict day and night shift.
Candace, how much of this do you have budgeted? You have the whole amount.
I
don't you?
budgeted the whole amount for this year, knowing that we do need to look for places to probably tighten up the budget in the future. We are trying to get grant funding, so even if we didn't make a change this year, it would just be something we need to have in our minds if we need to do that in the future. So we could be fine for this year. We are in a pretty tight.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of extra for anything.
Yeah. Chris, when are the contracts decided for the winter schedule?
Say that one more time, sorry.
If January is when the conversations about the spring schedule have to happen, when are the conversations about the winter schedule? What's that timeline?
We're typically beginning to build it in June, and it's probably end of July where we would need to pretty closely know how we're going to do the run cut, and then we begin kind of presenting it to the union August, September.
Okay, thank you.
Well, personally, I think option A would be our best option. Get 2 pretty close to each other in the middle of the day, and then you got 2 in the evening, one coming back at 8:30, one coming back at 10:30, so if we really wanted to start cutting costs, that would be my suggestion. Option
I mean, I prefer option C to start with. knowing that this year might change around a bit with potential funding. So we get some relief in the budget, but also we don't shift people's schedules so much that we're like causing them to
Yeah.
refigure things out constantly. And then also, yeah, C, or, I mean, I'd be open to B, but I'm really curious about I don't quite logically get why we would choose the 1 and 2 o'clock versus the 12 and 1 o'clock when the ridership looks like it's lower for the 12 and 1. But that's,
That's just, yeah, that's very subjective. It's on the part of Summit Stage team here and kind of the no way to measure it, but just a feeling of the dependency of that 12 and 1 o'clock trip and then how dependent folks are on it. And you get a lot of folks from, like Whole Foods as an example. A lot of shifts starting and kind of ending right at that time. In fact, I think those trips kind of ended up on request of folks working at Whole Foods and some of the other merchants in that area. So a lot of subjectivity, opinions in making that recommendation.
got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. I trust that deeply.
Yeah, I came from transit, so the drivers that ride the route every day, they get to know their people.
Totally, yeah.
So some of this is tribal knowledge, right?
Yeah, deeply respect that.
When will we know about the grant funding that we need for Stewart? Ish.
We missed the deadline for December, so be the end of January when we find out.
Thank you.
End of January. So is this the kind of decision we could it sounds like from Chris, mid to late January is also his deadline. Is this the kind of decision we could push a little bit so we have more information before we change people's schedules and lives?
Eventually, I think that it's awarded at the end of the month, that's all that I know. That's when the decisions are made, that committee meets.
So
Happy
we
to
would-
flex, and if we have to push our union schedule back a little bit, we're happy to do that. We definitely want to find out about this SB 230 grant and see if that can help us out at all.
I would,
I mean, because ideally, we don't wanna cut anything.
Correct, yes.
right,
If we get the grant funding, I think that's a whole, different story.
Yeah, I'd rather not make a decision now and then be like, oh, we got it actually, and we've pushed out all this information and unions think that we're changing it and then all of a sudden we're not.
The other thing is, sorry Stuart, is a lot of people probably built their work schedule around the bus schedule, so
Totally.
if we pulled the rug out from them at Christmas or
Yeah.
whenever this would happen, it doesn't seem fair.
Well, that's the good news with this. So,
When we
the
go-
schedule we build and kind of push out, it will be the summer schedule. So it won't actually start until mid-April. So even though we're building it in January through the winter, it won't actually start until April.
Got it.
So can I tentatively have you, Sandra, get us back in here for a decision if you feel like you've got all the information you would need to make one, and then we will know about the grant.
Yeah.
And can kind of come to that conclusion, but let's go ahead and get it on
Yes,
the calendar so we don't miss this pretty tight deadline, find out about the grant,
yeah.
get back
Yeah.
with Chris, and then we can get everything teed up.
Do we wanna say the last regular meeting in January or the first one in February?
We wanna be able to get back to these guys between mid to late January at the latest, so.
but we won't find out till the end of the month. I think it might have to be a special meeting,
Let's,
TBH.
true. Let's tentatively put it on for I think it's January 20th. That would be our last regular meeting in the month, just so we don't lose.
Well, we won't know about the grant, that's.
Yeah, but we won't lose sight of it, and then
Okay.
once we get a little closer
Phenomenal.
to that, if we
We'll
need to
push it
keep
out.
pushing it out until we find out, then we could just schedule a special.
Awesome.
Could we just schedule a special since we know we won't know by the 20th?
We can, but are you gonna know by the 30th, or are we gonna know by the 31st, are we gonna know by?
I mean,
Everything's hinging on this, finding out about this grant, huh?
It is.
Okay,
I'll put a hold on the 20th, so you and I know, when you see that we'll come back and know.
Yeah,
a little bit better
Refine
for
it.
the timeline.
yeah,
Chris, I have a
We meet
question
every week to review what we're about.
for you. When you you say you're due for a rider survey, would the bus driver just ask people like, hey, since he knows everybody, could you move later or earlier, or how does a rider survey work?
You know, it could work that way, as opposed to just identifying people's demographics. Asking questions like that would certainly be well within the means of a survey. We could do it off the cuff for you. We could, you guys could do one. We could even go so far, depending on the information we needed, potentially hiring Fair and Peers or something like that to get a little more higher volume. We'd be pulling small subsets, in our surveying, not necessarily getting a large subset of the ridership. We'd get a pretty good idea. And you get a really good idea just talking to drivers, which we have. They very conclusively feel like it's near 100% workforce as far as demographics. And then what people could change, that might not give us exact data. It might be more, well, I could change, but my job is this right now. I could get another job, I suppose, but I don't really know. So it'd almost be hard for ridership to even answer a question like that as well.
Yeah.
Be interesting to do just like a poll, like if we were to go to this many rides per day, check the boxes of which times would work best for you. Whether that was like a social media online poll or whether it was a handout you gave to people getting on and off the Lake County Leadville Frisco buses. Interesting to see what people had to say of like, oh, this would be my ideal time, but.
Well, yeah, that's good. I'll tell you what, since Ann's not here, I'll volunteer her time. I'll have her work with Stuart, and between Ann and Stuart, we can actually come up with a pretty good list of checkboxes in a survey that then we could ask the staff and the drivers to conduct and try to get some data.
That'd be awesome. That's the only component I feel like I'm missing is what do the people really want? It feels a little detached to sit here and look at all the schedules and then try and look at numbers and be like, well, to be able to have some actual rider input.
One thing I'll just bring up real quick is some folks in town requested a ski bus, something to arrive, not leave so early. So those early buses are obviously workers, but there's no real ride to Copper, arrive at 9 and start skiing bus, So that's unfortunate. Though if I was gonna take the survey, I would say I'll take an 8:30 bus, so.
Alright, first box has been checked.
So I didn't have to drive and come home at 3.
Yeah.
I do think some qualitative data like that will help us, inform the data we're seeing with a little bit more of the human side of things.
Yeah.
And ideally, we just get the grant funding.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's not jump the gun.
Okay. So what does this picture look like for us getting back with Chris then? Like we gotta come up with as much data as we can, come up with like our thoughts and then basically wait on what this word is on this grant. And that we don't know about that until late January, which is right at the end of when he needs to hear back from us.
Yeah,
So
he did say that he could be a little flexible on that in a January date, so.
we'll do our best to keep any flexing to an absolute minimum on your end. Cause you've got a group of people you have to work with on this, on your side, so. Yeah, I guess to wrap this up, as soon as we review more data and then hear back about the grant, we're gonna let Chris know ASAP what we think, whether it's option A, B, or C, or no cuts.
Okay, very good. And I just wanna say that I believe that the driver data is by far the most accurate,
Okay,
that quote unquote tribal knowledge.
yeah,
I've ridden our local transit bus, on a few occasions, because that's kind of my wheelhouse responsibility. And our driver, whoever that is, we've just changed recently, knows every single person that rides the bus.
Yeah.
And so that information is valid, where if we use Barron and Piers or social media or something else, we're getting not necessarily the ridership, but
Right.
people's opinions of what they would like to do or something.
I'll homework for myself to jump on the bus and head down the Copper once before we reconvene on this and just chat with the driver. See if that enlightens me in any way.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Also, one other little comment, I believe that when we take a bus over the mountain, it's the safest method of transportation.
Easy.
yes,
Yes.
I've done that drive thousands, if not 10,000 times, and I've seen a lot of bad driving. Never once by a bus driver, so I agree. Okay, any other questions, comments for Chris or Stuart on this from board or staff?
No.
Okay, Chris, thanks for coming in and chatting with us about this today. We really
All right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
a
you so much.
pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah,
Thank you.
alrighty, moving on, agenda item number 2. Discussion and consideration of resolution 2025-37, a resolution establishing and amending administrative procedures for the acquisition, deposition, and conveyance of real property by Lake County and repealing all resolutions in conflict herewith. Wow.
Disposition.
Oh, disposition, correct. Led by Ann Schneider, Community Planning and Development Director, and Matt Hobbs, County Attorney.
So I'm gonna speak for Ann. Ann's under the weather.
Wait, Anne is
but she-
muted.
But she is in attendance.
Okay,
Yes.
So the BOCC had previously approved.
wait, Jackie, I think she's trying to talk.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Ann.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, board. Thank you so much, and thank you, Jackie. Just home trying to get on the mend. So, Community Planning and Development made a request to the County Attorney's Office to revisit for the potential of revision of the disposition of real property transfer to support the 10-2 housing project. And so I think probably most appropriate for me to turn it over to Matt and let him present the resolution. So deep gratitude for him putting this as a priority so that we could have the process and resolution in place in time for the sale of the homes.
Yeah, so like Ann mentioned, this primarily started as a project to deal with the housing in 10-2 to make sure there's a process in place to transfer the property efficiently without going through public notice and public sales and everything else that was required with your prior resolution. Because you're really dealing with a pretty unique set of circumstances rather than generally selling a county asset.
Yeah.
So that's how it started, and that is all dealt with in, I forgot what section we put it in, but there's an entirely new section that was inserted into the resolution. Looks like it's on page, the page number, which section D, deals with the conveyance of county property for affordable housing purposes. And I provided you both a red line and a clean copy, and the red line shows all the changes from the prior resolution that we are suggesting for the board. That one's pretty straightforward, and as part of this process, another issue kind of arose at the same time where there is an individual who wants to donate property to the county out by Fish Flats in Tennessee Pass. I'm not sure the county road there, but a lot of people park there, that historically go up to the hut there, and it's a little parking area, and they don't want the liability anymore. And they're like, can we just give this to the county? And I was working with Stuart on that, and I'm like, well, we probably need a process in place for that too. So that was also added into this resolution that deals with how we, convey and acquire property. And that was added into, I think section 1.1, there was a little section added in basically voluntary conveyances of property to the county through gift or sale.
Yeah.
So basically allows you to negotiate or take a donation and sort of sets up a process for doing that. Also we kind of wanted some input on that just from the board. Is this something the board's interested in? We didn't want to get out in front of the board and sort of taking that, moving forward on that donation without, kind of just give us some input when you're discussing this, whether it's not something you're interested in doing or not, even though there's this resolution, but we are looking for some feedback on that piece too before, we start too far down that road and come back to the board like, we don't want this property.
Yeah.
So that's section 1.1. The other issue I kind of need some feedback on, in a lot of places in this resolution, when we get money in, it was very specific that it shall be deposited in the general fund of Lake County, which, kind of ties your hands a little bit. A lot of times when public entities sell assets, they want to put it back into assets. They don't want it to go into the general fund. They want it to, so, that's something you might want to consider changing, whether you want to just delete it and leave that open. There's really no reason to have it in there in terms of specifically where it needs to go, what fund it needs to go into. The other option would be you could consider a fund, whether you wanted it to go into a fund, or you could just leave it alone. So need some feedback on that piece of the resolution. And the other red lines are a lot of housekeeping cleaning. A lot of this drafting resolution is frankly more art than it's a lot of art, and it had a lot of exhibits in there that I didn't really think were necessary in terms of this is what the form of the notice needs to look like. We don't need that in a resolution. We can come up with the form of the notice. So, and what happens sometimes is when you have things spelled out too much detail. And then you do it wrong, you're like, okay, what happens now? There's really no reason to have the form of all these notices in the resolution in my opinion. So that kind of was a lot of the red lines, was just eliminating a lot of these exhibits that were attached to the prior resolution. Happy to answer any questions, or I don't know if Jackie or Ann has anything to add, but that's I think the overview of that resolution.
I'd like to ask for us to leave it going to the general fund just for now. What has happened in the past is when we're not specific, we'll get wild and put money all over the place with no rhyme or reason.
Okay.
I do think once we get our capital assets plan done and actually start really being conscientious to put capital assets in the correct place, then maybe we could amend it to have it going into the right fund. When people don't have direction, sometimes they make it up differently every time, is what I have witnessed in the books, and that gets to be a logistical nightmare to clean up, especially if you're trying to track disposition of assets. So can we change it later?
You can do whatever. Board can do whatever it wants to do. I don't have any indication. I just wanted to flag it for you guys.
Candace, I totally hear you. But, and, no,
I would just add on, I would just like to explore how much information or detail you would like on the County Road 19 Fish Flats putt parking area, at this time. Cause we can also provide a little more information on that if it's appropriate to do so now.
Are we just using that as an example as to why we would maybe make these changes? I think to take a deeper dive into that at this time might not be the best use of what we're trying to do, with just look at this. I think it's a good example, it brings up why we might wanna make some changes, but let's save that chat for later, Anne, please.
That sounds very appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
So if we put it into the general fund, couldn't we just also then say that's where it lands? Then we can at any time reallocate it into a different fund through a supplemental, right? So, if this is where we need to be, I feel okay with it, cause it doesn't actually hamstring us, it just makes sure that the people following this have a clear procedure for what they're doing, and I think it's fine.
Okay, and the wording for depositing it into the general fund pops up in multiple sections. Is it okay to say that it's a acceptable solution for now, for in every section that it pops up in? I can't read the whole thing right now, or you guys are all gonna be sitting here for like an hour waiting for me to but it's like, it's in 11.
It's just highlighted wherever.
Yeah, it pops up in multiple sections, cause it deals with just the various methods that the county gets involved in real property,
Okay.
whether it's through acquiring, selling, so that's why it just comes up in all those different sections.
Okay, cool.
It personally feels cleaner to me with staff that might have turnover, with a board that has turnover, like, let's just have it go in one place. And then reallocate it once it's in there. And we can, and those things can be earmarked, cause isn't one of the questions like where a landowner would want potential sales to go? Like if they're donating something, couldn't they say, I'd really like this to fund this
Like
in the
the rec
future?
replacement fund, maybe
Yeah,
it could be a
totally.
request, and then we can appropriate it from general fund to that fund.
Right, so this says, yes, thank you so much, we're gonna put it into the general fund with the understanding that we will then shift it, but we're just keeping it clean and the same thing every time, so it's not a deep negotiation also.
Yeah, if this has been vetted by you guys, it looks well thought out to me. Everyone who's involved has had a good look at it, and there's no objections by staff or the county attorney, then I don't have any objections either. Everything I've heard, everything I see makes sense.
Nat Hobbs is, I don't know anything about this, so I didn't know that we could receive donations. I thought that any donations weren't allowed. So is it just real property that people can donate, or like, why is it that we can't receive funds?
I mean, I think that there's, this just deals with real estate.
Right, yes, clear.
This resolution. The other issue is a separate issue, I think there's some accounting and auditing reasons, but
Okay.
probably a different policy discussion
Okay, cool, thank you.
on the other stuff, yeah. I don't know that legally it's not allowed, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I think there's a big difference between whether someone was saying, I wanna give this to Lake County, or whether someone's saying, I wanna give this to an elected official or a board or something like that. It would probably be a huge difference.
Yeah,
That would be illegal.
yeah, you don't want it
That
to
would be
be
straight
like
up.
that as a board member.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll take that. Okay, I move to approve resolution 2025-37. A resolution establishing and amending administrative procedures for the acquisition, disposition, and conveyance of real property by Lake County, and repealing all resolutions in conflict herewith.
I will second the motion.
Okay, to a vote.
Aye.
Aye. So be it.
Thank you, Matt, for that work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
a lot of red text in there.
Artfully
A
done.
lot of it was not necessary, yes, is why they were saying should.
Cool.
Concise.
Love it.
Alright, moving on, consent agenda. Can we get a motion to approve that with the one change, altering discussion and consideration to approval on consent agenda item 4.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda for December 16th, 2025. Conditioned upon item number 4 should say approval rather than discussion and consideration. And that's a PSA with Cloud City Conservation Center to be the sustainability contractor for Lake County.
Seconded.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda passes. Alright, all packet materials for agenda items are available upon request. And to subscribe to email or text notifications, please visit lakecounty.gov/list.aspx. With that, it is 12:01 PM. We will conclude this regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. Thank you, staff. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for the lovely